Hello, everyone. I trust that you're all doing well. So, this week is I would say, a very important week, right? This is the week prior to the US elections, right? So, this week is the week prior to the US elections. And, you know, of course, it is a week which, will precede much volatility. Hence, why on the screen right now you can see that almost every day, right? Almost every day for the week, we have high impact news events. And you know that whenever we have more than three, and I've said this many times before, whenever you have more than 3 days, on which you have high impact news events, then that week will more than likely not be the best, right? The best weeks to trade, almost every day, if that's what you like to do, would be weeks which, first and foremost, do not come before the president elections, volatility is released, or, weeks which have around 3 days, whereas you can find high impact news events pertaining to the US dollar, of course. So with that being said, on the screen, right, you can see we had news this morning, right? Did not do that much for the index futures, did a, good amount for the cryptocurrency, duo that we usually look at, which is the, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Tomorrow we have high impact news events, but the main thing for us this week will be the non-farm payroll, right, which is on Friday. So whenever you have, a cluster of events like this, the main thing to, focus on is the weekly cycle. The main thing to look for when focusing on the weekly cycle is sequential SMT. Because without sequential SMT, right, nothing really happens, right? And you need to take that to heart because that's what it is. Every time you have a major move, what's their sequential SMT? Every time you have premium and discount being established, what's their sequential SMT? And that is something that we will be looking at the end of this video, right? So here we have the US dollar index, the euro, and the British pound, right? You guys can see, right? And I believe that you all know. And let me just ask this question to see who actually knows, who remembers, who's been here. What is the reason for, price going in the direction that it has been going into? What is the reason for the US dollar, being bullish? What's the reason for the euro being bearish? And what's the reason for the British pound functioning as it is right now? Right? What is the reason? Right? What's the reason? And no, it's not the yearly cycle sequential SMT, it's the quadrennial cycle sequential SMT. So yeah, you're halfway there. You probably just made a mistake and say yearly cycle, right? But that's a total different thing, right? It's sequential SMT between 2023 and 2024. And the reason why I'm saying this again is for you to understand that these types of sequential SMT, right, will create generational bottoms. Right? My bad. That's okay, man. Right? You all make mistakes, right? These types of sequential SMT, right, will, create a generational bottom for Bitcoin, whatever it is, whatever you're looking at, even if it's commodities, right? And it's very important to, always be looking at the larger cycles at all times, right? So here, right, it doesn't even make sense for me to go into the lower time frames, right? Any lower time frame than this in regards to the FX market, right? So the price move is obviously underway. You guys can see what's happening. but the lower time frame cycles are not clear, right? It's not clear at all. So here we have, a bit more clarity looking at the futures market triad, right? Here, the first thing that's here that you guys can see, like what pops out here, we had sequential SMT at these lows, which is what sent price higher, right? And we expected price higher since we had these lows formed out here. And it's just, and I know that we all know this, it's beautiful, just like seeing this happen over and over again, understanding that it is this simple, right? It is this simple to know where price is going to go most of the times, right? It is, right? There's not, there is more to it, but like with this alone, you're ahead of everyone else, right? Here, you guys can see what's happening, right? We have these highs here, which is liquidity. We have price poking above this side, which I believe that price will be, going a bit higher, before ultimately, targeting these lows, which we'll talk about again in the next slide, right? You guys can see that the main reason for me to, talk like this is why, right? We have the Dow, right, slouching, and whenever you see this happens, whether if it is moving, upwards or downward, it does not matter. As long as you have the Dow expanding in a direction and you have the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 moving in the opposite direction, expect price to correct, and this is very important, expect price to correct or expand in the direction that the Dow was moving prior to, the upcoming correction or expansion move, right? So due to the fact that we have, price slouching like this, looking at the Dow, it's very, I wouldn't say obvious, but right, it gives you a reason to believe that we will have sequential SMT, just due to the fact that it is so far from this high. It's just, in my mind, I believe that price is getting ready to form a failure swing here, right? While this is happening right here. So this is usually the first sign before a reversal, right? The Dow getting out of sync with the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. I'll say that again. This is usually the first sign of a reversal, right? When the Dow gets out of sync with, the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. So it's out of sync. It's showing its hand. It's showing you where it wants to go, and this is basically, a response for the entire stock market on the whole, right? So the dot, what is it doing? This, so, right, following the, major event that we have next week, we could see, the market responding to this right here, which is the first thing that you'll see. Price on sinks, right? Then for price to resync, right? In order for price to resync, there must be sequential SMT, right? Do you understand? So first, price on sinks, right? Create space to form that failure swing, right? Creates, the proper price action, the highs needed for price to run, creates the highs needed here again for price to run through relatively equal highs. You can see this is not a relatively equal high. This is not relatively equal highs. This is just, negative price action. Price is just slouching. So the first thing that happens, price will unsync. And for price to resync, there must be sequential SMT, and if you want to get really precise, a sequential SMT plus a precision swing point. Do you understand? So first, price unsyncs, and this is for all reversals, whether it's bullish or bearish, price unsyncs. And in order for price to resync, right, there must be sequential SMT. So here, you guys can see, right, on the lower time frame, here we have these relatively equal lows, which, will serve as a future drawn liquidity, right, looking at the S&P 500. Here again, we have relatively equal lows, which I believe will serve as a form of drawn liquidity again, right? So the reason why we're singling out the S&P 500 and the Dow, not the Dow, S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, is due to the fact that these are the assets that we focus on in regards to trading, right? As I've said before, yes, you can trade the Dow, but it will be more difficult to do so. It's better to just use the Dow to gauge the price action of these two assets, right? So basically, the Dow is like our indicator. And here you can see price, barely poking above this high, but we expect, a higher push, right? We don't see this as a proper, run on liquidity, right? It's not. And also we would like to see the Dow, higher before falling lower again, right? But ultimately, is this screaming, just, buy and hold? Not at the moment, right? Not at the moment. So we did get, this move that we were looking for. You guys, remember, right? From this precision swing point. And if you guys remember what I have said before, right? Precision swing points are the real order blocks. Let me say that again. Precision swing point are the real order blocks. Do you guys realize that, you're always trying to find an order block, you're trying to use one. It rarely works. It's most times in hindsight that it works, right? Let's be honest. Or unless you have, a lot of confluence behind that single candle. And that's not what you want. You want a candle to be, the main thing or the main, concept or confluence that you're looking for, which is here. So we had precision swing point here, price traded down into the precision swing point, then expanded, above these relatively equal highs and ultimately cleared here, right? And still we can see price going to the direction that we anticipated it to go in, right? Here as well, we had price expand. And what have I said before, right? Whenever you see this happen, right, you see SMT or sequential SMT, doesn't matter, right? As long as you're in a trade and you see SMT occur, right, you need to get out, right? That's even if price does not completely reverse and take you out, take your stop out, it will come back within the range most of the times. That's what happens. So even if you were here and you were trading this, price expands here, and there you see the SMT right here. So here price went above this high, and at the Nasdaq here it didn't. And if you guys realize, I am not talking about the Dow that much, right? The Dow did its job. And if you guys remember, we talked about we would not see it, push above this high even when these did that, right? It just gave us the precision swing point to work with, which that's all we needed. Price went higher. There was SMT. Very obvious to see the SMT if you can't. Here it is, right? Here we have price went above this high, right? These highs are gone. Here, failed to do so. That means what? Get out, right? That's what it means. And here, I saw a lot of people talking about if, I could talk about, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin trade, this, that we've been talking about for, a long time. Of course, on Twitter, like if someone asks me about, certain things, you already know I'm not going to be like as clear cut or, as clear about it as I will be with you guys, right? Because they don't deserve, all of this. You do. So here, this is a very important lesson, right? I believe that if you have not been listening, you should at least just pay attention to this part right here, right? This is how you will establish real premium and discount, right? So this will So again, this will be how you will be able to, determine whether you are in premium and discount or not, and how to use it. So the first thing, and this is, for high probability price action, of course. If it's not high probability, we rarely talk about it. So here we had what? Sequential SMT, right? Here we had a daily precision swing point, but this is the 4 hour time frame, right? And we're focusing on the monthly cycle, right? So here you can see that we did trade and close below this low. Here we did not, right? Whenever you see this candle form, right? Price breaks higher, other candle, this will be discount. Why is it discount? Is it just because it's sequential SMT? That's one of the main reasons. Yes, it's sequential SMT, and that sequential SMT low, or the low that was caused by sequential SMT, will be, the low of your range. The high of your range, which will be the high that you aim for price to trade towards, will be a high, whereas there is no sequential SMT, right? So it would just be a regular high, such as here. These highs are symmetrical, right? So these are symmetrical highs right here. So symmetrical highs, the lows here, not symmetrical. Also, not hindsight, right? Because there are people that say, why don't you do it live? Well, I have a lot of things to do, first of all. And, there will be times when, of course, I'll pop up here and there, but not all the time I can do that, right? But every week, what do? I give you my insight on price action. It usually pans out, right? Just like this right here. We've been talking about this even before this sequential SMT was formed, even before this high was formed. We talked about this when price was way lower than this, right? We expected higher prices. And no, you're not going to ever see me like beat my chest or just be like, overly excited because of a move or because I expect the move to happen. No, we've seen this happen many, many, many times. Many, many, many times. It will always happen, right? I even have a friend. Sometimes he's like, bro, you couldn't tell me about the trade. I'm like, you got to watch the videos. It's not abnormal for these things to happen, right? We most times see them before they happen. We know how to gauge certain market conditions, right? We know when it's high probability. We know when it's low probability. We know when to wait. We know when not to wait, right? So yes, this is how you gauge real premium and discount. So here we have this blank week, right? What happened? Sequential SMT. Price went higher. Do you understand? So we have sequential SMT right here, and then we have price pushing higher. Here, remember again, and this is the main thing to understand, right? This is the main thing to understand, right? This right here, right? This is not the most important part, right? To determine that this is actually arranged. The most important part is to make sure that there was no sequential SMT here. There was no SMT right here at all, right? Because if there was a sequential SMT here, what would that mean? That would mean that we could expect price to just be within the range until it just decides to go where it wants to go, because that would be low probability price action. The fact that there was no correlation here proves to us that we will see a reversal or expansion from this leg of price action. Also, there was what the SMT filled right here. After that, we saw price expand to the levels that we expected it to. And here, right, we have Ethereum to the right, we have Bitcoin to the left, right? Right. If you have studied, you know what to expect here, right? So here we have what? Bitcoin basically at all-time highs. Some exchanges already touched it, right? Here, Ethereum far away from all-time high, far away from this leg of price action right here, from the high right here. So what could we see? If we see sequential SMT, right? This, that this would be a response to whoever wins the presidential election. Well, they will probably, blame that on the move. If we have the crypto market, halting its upward movements and fall back within this range right here, right? To me, to be honest, right, I can't ignore these lows here, right? I just can't, right? These lows are just too clean for me to ignore, right? And already we see this higher time frame sequence is empty, higher time frame cycle sequence is empty. Then here again, we see Ethereum far away from this high, right? This pans out, right? Then you know what's the truth or not. You know that quarterly theory is it. You know that it's, right? You know that there's nothing better. So yes, that's my outlook. And I hope that you found this useful, right? As you guys see, right? I'm not someone that will be going around corners and talking about things that don't matter, right? I know that you have lives. I know that you just need to understand this. And if you have understood this already, you just need extra clarity. So the main thing to take away from this lesson, what is it? It's understanding the ranges, understanding when you're actually in discount, right? Here, right, you'd be in discount right below the center of this range, which would be around here. So anything that forms after this sequence SMT is discount, as long as it's below here, you would not look to be bullish here. Only below the 50% of the range, and vice versa if this was bearish. So I hope that you found this useful, because it is. Hope that you took notes, because this will change everything, right? That being said, I will see you again at the next scheduled live stream.